Sometimes the way the world sees you isn't the way you see yourself. And somewhere in that gap between perception and truth is where identity gets shaped, challenged, and ultimately reclaimed.
See the able, not the label. Go beyond the label. Do not let anything or anyone define who you are or what you can do. A neurologist told my mom that I would never go to college, never finish high school. I'll never even have a normal life. I actually have a master's of science degree in accounting, and I live on my own in Koreatown. I want to convey this message that I'm able to do anything that my mind puts me to, no matter what limitations come my way, no matter what obstacles come my way. Nothing is stopping you except you, and changing the world one step at a time. I see myself performing at the Super Bowl one day. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to reach my dreams.
Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast, where girls isn't about gender, it's about grit. We celebrate the dreamers, the builders, and the difference makers bold enough to start. I'm your host, Jennifer Loehding, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are so glad to have you. All right, my guest today, we are joined by Be Able, a recording artist, songwriter, actor, and saxophonist. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Whose work blends hip-hop, R&B, soul, jazz into something that's both expressive and intentional. And so Be Able, welcome to this show. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Jennifer. It is an honor for me to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. And as we understand today, you do all these great things. You're in the recording space and making music and all this, but this podcast thing is kind of a little bit different avenue for you to be in. Am I correct?
Yeah, this is actually my second podcast that I've ever been a part of. So I'm just getting used to the podcast space, but I'm enjoying it. I'm making the most of it. Any questions you have for me, I am willing to answer them. I am an open book.
That's so awesome. You know what's so funny? I often talk about this. You know how like we get in our craft and we get really comfortable and good in it, like, right? It just sort of kind of flows because we're used to it. And then we'll do something just a little bit nuanced, different. And we're like, oh, that's like a different space, right? It stretches us just a little bit. I always share this funny story because when I was in college, I took public speaking, and I swore the day that I had to take this, this class, I had to get up in front of these people and just kind of impromptu talk. And I swore that day I would never talk in front of a group of people again. And I say, the upstairs has a funny sense of humor because I went into the network marketing space and I was in Mary Kay for 22 years in leadership. So imagine what I had to do. I had to speak in front of people, right? Over and over and over. And so here we are today doing this funny thing. But ironically enough, like I do these recordings and there's very seldom comes a time that I'm actually truly nervous about doing this. But you put me on a live video. It is the funniest thing. I do totally fine, but I am actually nervous doing a live video versus this because it's a little bit less controlled in my mind. Even though I do no edits, it's still a little bit less controlled. You know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. And as a performer, I do encounter stage fright quite a bit. I've been doing it so much that, people are asking like, why are you just so calm on stage? Because I just had so much practice, so much performing experience that, there's less butterflies in my stomach than people would actually think. Even in this podcast setting, I try to treat this as, hey, this is a normal conversation. I'm just being myself. And that's what I encourage people to do is just be themselves and see beyond the label.
Yeah. Well, and you're in good space because we want you just to be yourself, because that's really what this show is just it's an engagement, is in conversation. And ultimately, I always tell people my goal when you leave is to make sure you have a good time. So we're just having a conversation anyways, right?
Yep, we sure are.
Okay. Well, let's start. I want to back this up because here's what I want to do. I don't want to say any more about who you are. I kind of gave an intro to who you are. So I would love to know a little bit about, walk us through this journey. You don't have to tell us every piece of it, but just kind of walk us through this journey. Like, did you, as a young child, you knew music was going to be your thing, or did you sort of come into this space? Give us a little insight as to how you got to arrive to where you are today.
Well, For starters, I would like to mention that I am on the autism spectrum. I also have ADHD. A neurologist told my mom that I would never go to college, never attend a regular school, um, never finish high school. I'll never
Wow.
even have a normal life.
Wow.
So when it comes to all the things I experienced in childhood, I was bullied, teased upon by my peers. It was rough.
Yeah.
My parents at times did not understand me. So it was, I had a blessed childhood, don't get me wrong, but there were times where I was at odds with my parents throughout my life. But one thing that got me through it was music. I love music so much. As a matter of fact, when I was crying when I was a little baby, my mom would put on the Muppets version of Kokomo by the Beach Boys, and
Yes.
that would instantly calm me down.
Yeah.
So music's my best friend, and one thing I want to do is tell my story through my musical journey because I want
Gotcha.
to inspire people, especially those on the spectrum, to pursue their dreams and to see beyond their labels. Despite what the neurologist told me, to my family, I actually have a master's of science degree in accounting, and I live on my own in Koreatown. So being able to do all these things is a blessing and a test of who I am. And I want to make sure that others on the spectrum do the same and people outside the spectrum to really see the able, not the label.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Well, first of all, I'm gonna commend you. I want to say you rock, you're awesome, but I also want to tell you you're in good space. We have lots of ADHD in our home. I had two kids, two of my oldest and my youngest were both labeled ADHD, and I will tell you also, I'm sure that my husband and I have some somewhere in here as well, and so I can resonate with some of the things you're saying because I think as I don't wanna say it, because they always like to label that as disability. I don't think it's a disability. I think it's actually an advantage. I'm gonna tell you why in just a few minutes. But I think that, yes, that ADHD kids are often misunderstood. And the thing is that, yes, you're trying to fit into a world where a lot of people are not that way, right? And I think it's awesome. Hey, you're here. So, first of all, thanks for tuning in today. And since you're already here, you're probably going to want more of this. So, make sure you check out startergirlz.com. That's where you can catch up on any episodes you may have missed. Get signed up for our newsletter so you can stay in the loop on everything we've got going on. And if you're looking to go a little deeper, you can also check out our Starter Girlz Insider community. That's where we take these conversations beyond the podcast with tools, workshops, and real conversation so you can take what you're learning and actually start applying it. So, as I always say, head on over to startergirlz.com and do your thing. I think it's awesome and I love the name because now I get it. Now I absolutely get where it came from. But let me tell you kind of an interesting thing. I had a girl come on my show, come on my show that she was an attorney and I believe she worked in I can't remember all the details, but worked in some aspect of the government, legal work with the government. And she actually went in to become a coach to study people of ADHD. And she actually reframed it as a superpower. And, I don't remember the entire dialogue, but I do remember this piece of this conversation we had. We were talking about in meeting rooms when you're in spaces with other people on a team that you're working with. And a lot of times what happens is the ADHD person comes in the room and they see a problem and they go, "Oh, they see this." They had now skipped from A to G. B, C, D, E, F, and they're
F.
at G, and they've already got the solution, while 90% of the room is still talking about what happened. They're still trying to figure out what happened, and the ADHD person's already a lot of times come in, and they have the solution, but the problem is, and they can't always explain how they got from here to here. I say this to you because welcome to my world. This is me all the time. I go into meetings and it makes me absolutely crazy because I have already seen the solution. Like, I'm like, why are we still going on about this? Like, let's move on. We got the answer. Like, I don't get it. But you realize 90% of the population is still working through processing what happened. And so the reason I'm saying this to you is because there are some really neat superpowers about being this way, right? And the fact, like you just this like you just said in accounting. Wow. How amazing is that? You know what I mean? That means you're really good at picking up on those numbers. And I studied accounting, by the way, too. So I can get you on that one too. So I just want to commend you and say, awesome and congratulations, because you're looking at that. And I wish more people that, and I hope that more people that have this can really look at this as a superpower and not as a limitation. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
Be
do know
able.
what you mean. I do know what you mean. And I feel autism in kind of the same way. There are some advantages that I have over people. Like I can do calculations in my head. I'm very detail oriented. Like
Yep.
you discussed about that the processing the problem and not getting to the solution. One of
Yeah.
my engagements that was on for work, my coworkers spent all night trying to solve the problem or processing the problem, and in 20 minutes, I figured out the solution of that problem. I fixed it. So,
Exactly. See, we need people like we need people like you in the world because they can get the problem done. You know what? Like they get the solution figured out without going on and on and on about it, and so I think it's good. I will say it's funny because I don't know about you, but like I always said, my son is ADHD, and I don't he's funny because he'll get fixated on things and he'll be like hyper focus. And I've realized that in our house, like there's a lot of us that do that. And sometimes I have to tell myself, Jennifer, you need to stop. You spent too much time on this. We need to pause, take a breather, come up for air, practice pausing. And I said this in another episode that is actually my new word for this year is just pause, come up for air, breathe,
mhm.
take a pause.
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
yeah. So, well, I'm proud of you because I think that I love your name, and I was going to ask you, like, tell us where Be Able came from, but I have a feeling. So, what's the? It's just Be Able. What is your real name? Are we allowed to know your real artist name?
Yes, you're
Or
allowed to. You are more than allowed to know my real name. My real name is Brayton Kroom. The reason why Be Able is came up is because B is the initial of my first name, but
yep,
I,
that's why I asked it.
the reason why I put able is because I want to convey this message that I'm able to do anything that my mind puts me to, no matter what limitations come my way, no matter what obstacles come my way. As I
Yeah,
mentioned before, see the able, not the label. Go beyond the label. Do not let anything or anyone define who you are or what you can do.
I like it. The Be Able works on both ways. Be able, like just without your name, just be able to
Yep.
do something, right? But then I had a feeling it was alluding to it, like tying back to your first name. That's why I wanted to ask you what your name was. So thank you for sharing that with us. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit in your words, like what makes your work different? Because obviously we're talking about being able. We talked about that. We've already got kind of gone on that, but tell us a little about your work, like what it is. You do R&B and soul. Tell us a little bit about that, and then you talk about kind of storytelling, like kind of through your work. So maybe talk us through that approach and what that looks like for you.
Okay. Well, when it comes to my music journey, I'm mostly a hip hop artist, but I incorporate R&B, jazz, soul, reggae, all genres into the mix. So when you're talking
Awesome.
about my work, you're not just getting one genre, you're getting
Yeah.
multiple genres. But it all comes with this basis of storytelling and keeping things real and authentic, giving people something that they can relate to. I feel
Yeah.
like music nowadays is very sex driven, it's very,
Mhm.
violence driven, but it's not really talking about something that is really pertaining to the mind, which is, something that we talk about on a daily basis, but we don't really talk about that in music. Like we
Yeah.
talk about, like one of my music talks about mental health, autism awareness. One of my songs talks about masking and how that gets done. So
Yeah.
my music is very real and authentic. It's for the autistic community, but it's also for people outside of it because
Gotcha.
I want to make sure our societies come together and just make sure we elaborate on inclusiveness and realism.
So as an artist, how do you decide? Because you've got different genres, and you know what? I have a feeling This is like my brain. I had somebody tell me the other day, they sent me a message in LinkedIn because I have multiple businesses. So I have my podcast is my creative part of my work I do because I like to be creative. But also I have a pet sitting business. And then I can technically coach too because I'm certified in a bunch of different certifications as well. And so somebody sent me a message the other day and said, you have all these things. You're like a recipe for burnout. And I said, clearly you don't know how my brain works. But here's what's funny. Here's what's funny, Brayton, is on the top of my thing, it says something about I've mastered the navigating the burnout, like the crash and burn cycle. Clearly, I'm a product of that, right? But the funny thing about this is I'm like, you don't get the brain of somebody like this because as a creator, I thrive on ideas and manifesting things and ingenuity and creativity. Like you put me in a room with somebody and we're like talking about ideas. I'll come up with 100 freaking ideas on how to solve a problem. Like I'll be like, no, why don't you do this? Or why don't you try this? And if somebody tells me I can't, then I'm irritated. I'm just totally agitated because now they're telling me I can't. And I'm like, BS, I'm going to figure it out. Right. So my
Right.
point of this is I'm asking you because if you're anything like me, it's like people tell me I've got a lot of things going on, but I have a method. I feel like to my madness. I feel like I know what I'm picking and what I'm doing. So I'd love to know, like, how do you decide when you're picking your music? Like, is it so today? Do you wake up and you go, this is the song, like this is kind of the feel I have for this particular song to go, or do you have actually a process? You go, this time I'm going to do this, or is it kind of a feeling thing?
That is a very good question. So when it comes to my songwriting process, sometimes I'll be just driving around and sometimes an idea will pop into my head like, oh, this is a really good idea. So one thing that I've done is that during my car rides, sometimes I'll play a little song, say, oh, play some music, be like, oh, like what if I did this? What if I did that? Actually, the song I'm gonna write actually just came up to me in my car. It's called "It's All Good," which is reggae, and sometimes it's just a matter of me listening to beats on YouTube
Yeah,
and be like, "Oh,
yeah,
this is a good beat to write a song to." So I want to try to see what I can do with that song, or just sometimes if I'm feeling a certain way, anger, happiness, I'll write a
yeah.
song based off that feeling. So it's a mixture of impulsiveness, but also planning is where I get.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, and I would say probably as a creator, I think most of our ideas kind of come when we're in a space where that other side of the brain can flow, right? Like, as we got
Right.
the logical brain and we got that creative ingenuity side of our brain. And I know personally, nothing ever creative happens when I'm in a task oriented phase of my life. Like when I'm in the go, 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 got to check, check, check. I'm not my creativity comes when I'm outside walking or when I'm listening to music. I like music, by the way. You know what I mean? Like when I'm doing, I had a lady come on my show. She was a painter, like a mural painter, and had done some, like some pretty famous work. And I asked her this. I remember asking her, I was like, so what do you do like when you're in there and you're painting? And she's like, I put some music on that I like and I just go to, so I can just totally imagine how fun it would be to be painting on a wall and have music just playing. Like you got something that you're really like, going to, and you just doing your craft. You know what I mean? So I could see how that would inspire the ideas, listening to something that you really like. And
Yeah, and for the most part, some of my music is actually based on other works.
okay.
My
Yeah.
song Avatar, which isn't released on Spotify just yet, that was influenced by my friend, Big Ears Glenn, who wrote this song called Ultra Instinct. So I'm like, okay, like what if I what if I took what if I well not took, but what if I like
Right.
made a song based on that like bump, that fire. So it would
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes I'm inspired by so much stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So I know we talked about, like having to overcome like things like bullying and then, moving into the space as a recording artist, because obviously I'm assuming you're looking at this from a business perspective, like you would like to grow this into some space. I know as creators, we like to have fun, but we also have to think about the business side. I would just really, for our listeners listening in, because there may be somebody right now that's sitting there and going, I have a great idea. I want to put it out into the world, but I'm just kind of not knowing. I would love to know like some of the challenges maybe you had to overcome in the business space. Like, was it maybe the idea generation or just that step, like doing it, going, after? Maybe share some of those with us.
So the biggest obstacle that I'm currently facing in my music career, and this is also the obstacle I faced starting my music career, money. Money is the number one obstacle I currently face in my life. If it were up to me, I'd be in the studio right now making my
Yes.
first album. I
Yeah.
mean, I just want to devote so much time to my music, but I also got to make the bread first. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
working a full-time job outside of music, just me to fund that music career, fund my bills so that I can now pursue music outside of this. So to
Yeah.
me, my biggest obstacle in the whole music career, why I haven't really blown up yet, is probably because of funding.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a lot of people, but you know what? I think you give hope in that you don't have to give up one to do the other. In other words, it's not like you have to wait to start to be a musician or to start a creative passion when you can financially do it. You just do your job and you put it on the side and you do it if it's important to you. And I'm sure like everything, because when I work with my clients, I've told them this, that the creative side of our lives is actually what adds value to us. It adds value to who we are as human beings. And so the fact that you're doing that on the side, it's actually probably allowing you to be a better employee, a better human. You know what I mean? Like it's adding value to your life and expanding everything else for you. So I just wanna say that you're a great example on, that you don't have to wait to start a passion when everything is perfect, right?
I I agree, and especially with support from the app, for support from people. Like in 2025, I was fighting homelessness.
Mhm.
So one thing that I was trying to do was trying to gather funding, but I run into my friend Lycan Harris, who has worked with so many nonprofits and organizations that he was able to not only find me work, but also to generate funding for me so I can stay housed, stay homeless. And we've been fighting this for almost a year. And now I'm on the other side of it. I work full time now. I'm able to secure my housing, able to pay rent, able to pay bills. So when you're
Cool.
pursuing your dreams, you don't have to pursue your dreams alone. You have
Yeah,
friends and you have supporters who are willing to help you do so.
I love it. So I'd love to know, like, what have you learned in this journey so far, like, through your work in this creative process? Like, maybe and you could talk about yourself, you could talk about the industry, you could talk about, any however you wanna navigate this.
That is a very good question. And to answer your question, I will come up with 3 points that I've learned. One, it's not just who you know, but who knows you. Who's
Yeah.
who's willing to pitch your name to an executive? Who's willing to put you in front of people, pitch you to these podcasts or these interviews, these performances, and get you out there. So that's one thing I've learned by working in the music and entertainment industry. Two,
Yeah.
you need to be willing to take a risk on people. When I first met Wyken Harris, my best friend, um, he just approached me and said, "We're going to help you be homeless." I didn't have to take a risk on Sunny. I could have said, "You know what? Maybe too big of a risk. I'll just do this on my own." But I did take that risk of allowing Sunny and I to work together. And the result is I'm now on the other side of homelessness. I'm housed. Got my car, got my bills paid. So working, taking a risk on someone is vital for you to
Yeah.
actually move forward in this industry and in life.
Yeah.
Um, and And the third thing I've learned in the industry is just do it.
Ah,
I know that's coming from Nike, but it really is a big sense of like, you just got to put yourself out there, fill out applications, go to networking events because you don't know where the next opportunity is coming from. Sometimes you have to make your own opportunities in this industry. So
yeah.
just do it. Put yourself out there, go to events, sign that application because the only thing that's stopping you in your music career is you.
Yeah. And I think these are really good points almost in really any business to be honest with you because right isn't it really like who knows you like it's not what you know it's really who you know and who knows you right and you do have to be willing to risk and take chances with people and be open. You're going to have situations. I think you have to sort of assume that sometimes things are not going to work out, but in order for you to get to the next thing, you have to have the things not work out. You got to take the risk and sometimes you do just got to do it. Whether it's Nike or not, you just got to do it. Right? I mean, who cares? It's truth anytime you're trying to scale, grow, expand your reach, right? These are all important things that you just have to sometimes do,
Right. I
you know?
couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. What do you feel like, and this you did talk about kind of it's across, I guess, any takeaways for you as an individual, like what you've learned about yourself personally in this process?
I feel like what I've learned is that I'm a work in progress. I'm not
Mm,
perfect. I don't
yeah.
have all the answers, and I want to continue to work on myself. Speaking of
Yeah.
which, I do have a song called Working on Myself where I talk about my mental health journey,
Yeah.
doing all these, going to therapy, doing exercises. So as I continue to work with my music career, I'm also taking time for my mental health, making sure that no matter what I do, I make sure I stay mentally stable, make sure I stay mentally well, physically well. It just really improve myself every single day. The music video will be coming out on May 1st.
Okay, awesome. Well, and here's the thing, as long as, I think and you're on the right path here by the fact that you understand that you're a work in progress, because honestly, we're all work in progress, really. I think anybody that wakes up and doesn't think they're a work in progress is probably being a little bit, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but really it's kind of what it comes down to because we should always be work in progress. You know what I mean? That means we're evolving. And if you think it from the perspective as a creator, everything changes. Like, right? The music industry changes, the podcasting landscape changes, TV changes, everything evolves. And so as a business owner, we should be evolving to keep up with the landscape that's going on, right? So I think we always should be evolving on every level. So good for you for recognizing that. And I'm excited about your song that's coming out. I think that's good.
Thank you so much.
So,
Appreciate that.
so what when you look at all of this, like what is I guess maybe I guess the best part of all this, like what do you love about the work that you do and what's the big takeaway for you in all of this?
The biggest takeaway in all this is that I am changing the world one step at a time.
I
The
like
big
it.
the biggest takeaway for me is that I get to inspire those and entertain those inspire and entertain people at the same time. Because
Yeah.
with my music is not just for informational purposes, it's for entertainment purposes.
Right,
Because
right.
I want to put a smile on people's faces. I love making people laugh. I enjoy just making, someone's day. So what puts a smile on my face is the fact that I get to do what I love, interact with people I love, and just spread love across the whole world and hopefully change the world.
Yeah, yeah. So you have a song coming out May 1st. And so what else? Do you have more projects in the works or is this like the main thing right now you're focusing on?
Well, the song "Working on Myself" is already out on Spotify.
Okay, it is out. Okay.
This would be the music video for that song. That will be
Gotcha. Okay,
on May
sorry, my bad.
1st. It's all
Okay.
good. It's all good. I'm
So
actually,
and so you're doing you've done the video too, which is no easy feat, I imagine, because I tell you, me doing video is just a pain in the butt. I can only imagine trying to create a video for a song.
it's a it's still a work in progress, to be honest. We're still trying to work some kinks out, but I aim for it to be released on May 1st, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. Um,
Gotcha.
I also
Gotcha.
have an album that my very first album I hope to release on April 2nd, 2027, World
Okay.
Autism Awareness Day, called The Definition.
Okay. Well, you've got it. You've got it planned out. I love it. I mean, you're like, you got your names and you're like, it's like there. It's not like, oh, I'm thinking of it here. You've got the plan. So you just have to make sure you put the work in action to make it happen on those days, right?
Yep, that's what I'm trying to do.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Half the time it's for a lot of people, the struggle is they have this vision of what they want to do, but they don't quite see it like you're seeing it. And that's sometimes the hardest part,
It is. It definitely is.
you
When I
know?
My vision for my music career is that I want to release albums, I want to go on tour worldwide, and I want to be signed to a label. I mean, I see myself performing at the Super Bowl one day. I see myself performing at the Hollywood Bowl one day. It's good to have these insight and vision in mind. The
Right.
key step is to just make sure you take steps to get there, no matter how long it takes. And I'm willing
Yeah.
to do whatever it takes to reach my dreams.
Yeah. Well, and that's a key, right? Because anybody can have a dream, but you have to take the action, right? Like you have to do the step. And that goes back to all those three things you were saying to just do it. And right, the people that you know, right? And I'm like, where did my notes go? But you get my gist. It's like doing those things, taking risk on people, right? Because if you're going to talk about these things, but you're not going to make yourself available for opportunity, then that's just kind of wishful thinking, right? So you have to make sure that whatever the dream is, that you make yourself available for the opportunity to find you, right?
I agree.
And you said something early on about making, yeah, way up in the beginning, you said something about I think making your own opportunity or something like that. And so, yes, I think that when you make your own opportunity, the opportunities arrive, right? Like
I
when you
couldn't
take the
agree more.
initiative. Yeah, when you take the initiative that things pop up, and so I was telling someone the other day that I got a I had a because I do have a lot of agents that reach out to me, to get their people on this show, and a lot of them I can't. I honestly, I'm truthful. It's a good problem to have. It's a fun feeling when you've been working, and then all of a sudden you're in a place now where like my inbox is flooded all the time. I can't. I seriously can't keep up. I was like the other day, I need to put somebody just on the job of responding to the people that want to get on the show, right? But I got a really good one the other day from somebody here locally. I'm in Dallas that owns a jet company that it basically puts celebrities with fans and stuff. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going through their, their stuff and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like 6 degrees of separation, right? Like it's who you know. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, these people are like in the town over from me. They're here, but I'm looking at their feed and the people that they're like connected to and stuff. And so it comes down to when I look at that whole situation, I did the work. I did the just do it. I did the just do it that you're talking about. I got up. I did it when it sucked. I did it when I didn't feel like doing. I've been plugging away for since 2019 at this podcast. And I started out in a little cheesy like Venture X type co-op space with foams on the wall, terrible acoustics. We were on live on Facebook to going into a fancy studio to COVID hitting and then coming home after that and working on a platform. And so I've learned how to build a low budget podcast from the ground up. So I can tell you both ways. And, so my point to all this is that I look at it now and I go, man, I have met some incredible people on this journey, but it's all because I made myself available. I did it and I networked and I did the work and I made the opportunity. And so then the opportunities now are starting to come this direction, if that makes sense. So I want to keep encouraging you because it's really just it's in a long haul game, right? Like it's just a stick with it and keep doing and make yourself available.
Thank you. I am very encouraged to do so. Once I want to pursue my dreams, the only thing that stopped me from pursuing my dreams is myself. So
Right.
I'm always making sure that no matter what I do, I'm always even if I have to take a couple steps back, I'm still centered, focused
Good.
on just
Yeah.
achieving all of my dreams.
Yeah. So what advice would you give? And you've already said several things, but I'm gonna let you kind of, dive into this again. What advice would you throw out to somebody right now, other than to just do it, but maybe something else for somebody who's like sitting on that fence and they're like, okay, but we're saying just do it. But I'm just like, they're like, what's maybe a step an artist could do? Let's just talk about artists. What's maybe a step an artist could do right now to maybe get their craft either, get it out there into the world?
Well, if I can ask any artist, like if any artist actually is struggling to get a project out there, I'll be like, what are you waiting for?
Mhm.
What are you waiting for? There's
Yeah.
so much opportunity for you to get your voice heard, so many opportunities for you to start. Nothing is stopping you except you. So
Yeah.
act now. What are you wait?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
And maybe even we could say you're being kind of selfish because you're not sharing your gifts with the world, right?
That too. That
Yeah.
too. Yep.
Right. So when I was in Mary Kay, I remember a long time ago, I don't know where I heard this, but somewhere a long time ago when I mean, many moons ago, I feel like I heard something because I used to tell people I was shy. And it was weird because I was introverted and shy, which is such an awful combination because it's like you don't want to be around people, but you're also shy. I am no longer shy, as you can tell. No, I'm still a little bit introverted at times. I do like to be by myself, but I'm okay being around people too. I make myself, work at it. Anyways, I forgot where I was going with this whole shy thing. I was going to tell you something about something. See, I got so excited about talking to you. I totally lost what I was going to tell you about the being shy. It'll come back to me in a few minutes. But anyways, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. My brain just went, hello, Jennifer. Sometimes it does that. It just does it. I get so excited. I'm like, woo. Anyways, so awesome. Well, listen, be able, you're doing incredible work and I love what you're doing. And watch when we get done with this, it's gonna hit me again. I'm feeling my lack of sleep has been catching up with me these days.
Me
Let's do
too.
I know. I have been running so hard the last couple weeks, and I'm telling you, like every day. The other day, I was trying to come up with something so stupid. I could not remember the name of something so basic. I was like, oh my gosh, like it's on the tip of my freaking tongue. I'm like, I need
Um,
some sleep. I need to get some shut eye. So, anyways, but I wanted to ask you some fun questions. You might like these a little bit different than what we've been talking about. But what is something people would be surprised to learn about you? Maybe they
I,
don't know about you.
I am a third degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Well, how cool is that? Third degree. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm impressed. My oldest daughter is a first degree black belt in karate. And
Okay.
my other two took karate for a while, but then they ended up my middle she was all the way at brown belt, and then she became a cross country runner and a soccer player and kind of went a different direction. But we've done a lot of martial arts in our household. So good on you. Nobody's gonna be messing with you.
I've had I've had one person mess with me down in Santa Monica. Like he was being so disrespectful to me and my friend. Um, he put his hands on me, but you know, it
That was the end of
just
that, I bet.
I mean, it was just you win some, you lose
Yeah.
some. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, no one disrespects me. You get to leave with that.
Well, and the thing is with martial arts, it's such a controlled sport anyways that you're
It
taught,
is.
all that control stuff anyways. So I think it's good on you because it's such a fun thing. I watch my kids do it for many, many years, like, kind of sitting up on in the bleacher at the studio and watching it's such a great mental sport, and the discipline it takes to get through that. So good for you.
Thank you so much.
So If you were doing what you are doing right now, like doing your creative aspect work and maybe you had to focus just on the boring side, the full-time regular, whatever they tell us we have to do, right, to get
hmm
by. What do you think you would be doing instead? Would it
If
be
I was,
accounting?
I mean, if I wasn't focused on music,
Yeah, if you weren't able to do what you're doing now, what would you be doing?
that's
Maybe you'd
a
be painting.
that's a very good question. If I wasn't doing music, if I wasn't doing accounting, I would probably be, just trying to find ways to give back to the autistic community. Um, one thing I'm
Another
currently
creative
doing,
outlet, probably.
yep, another creative outlet, public speaking towards how to build more inclusiveness and acceptance in our community. I'm actually putting on an event on April 26th called Beyond the Label Open Mic 2, which is a
Okay.
charity concert and open mic. 50% of the proceeds are going to go towards Breaking Barriers, which is a nonprofit organization that helps people on the spectrum graduate
Wow.
college and find jobs.
I like it. I like it. Good for you. And I think you could do some speaking too. I think it'd be a fun, doesn't have to be like the full-time thing, right? Like doesn't have to be the main thing, but I think you would be a good advocate for that as a creator and in the space of artistry and all of that, because people, in that community, not even just in that community, outside of that community would respect and admire, the work and the dedication in that. So something to consider sometimes. So I think it's good. I joke. I told somebody the other day because somebody asked me one day if I was going to be doing, because people think this is the only thing I do is podcasting. And so somebody asked me if I was going to do podcasting, but if I saw myself doing it for a long time. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I started thinking about it. Maybe I'll be the greeter at Walmart. That'll be like when you come into Walmart, I'll be like, hey, how are you today? And I'll be like that happy person.
Right, right, right.
Because I'm like the PR person. I always joke, I'm like, put me in a room where I gotta get people to an event or I gotta talk to somebody. I'm gonna make sure everybody has a good time. Like that's what I do is I make sure people have fun. And so wherever we are, we're gonna have a good time. That's what I say. So anyways. All right. What's well, and you kind of, I feel like you answered this question. So the question is, what's one thing you're currently working on improving outside of your career? And you kind of mentioned that about work in progress. So I would love to maybe hear a little more on that. Like, what do you do? Are you like reading books? Like, what do you love to do?
So when it comes to the life I have outside of music, one thing I'm currently doing right now is that I am working on myself mentally and physically. I work out. I actually was just working out this morning before this podcast,
Okay.
just to slim down a little bit. I am going to therapy. I am on medication because I do have some anger issues. I do have, like I mentioned about my disabilities, there's some impulsive stimuli that comes with it.
Sure.
So I
Yeah.
am constantly working on myself mentally, working through my issues so I can become mentally and physically stronger.
Yeah. Well, good for you. And I think that there's nothing wrong with, awareness and you're in a place where you want to be good at your craft and what you're doing. And so I get it. I mean, I think it's great that you're aware and you're saying, okay, these are areas that I have to keep, being in check, right? I think we all, regardless, as human beings, we all have areas that we need to be in check on.
I
Right? You know
agree.
what I mean?
I
Like,
agree.
it doesn't matter whether we're ADHD or not, or autism spectrum, whatever. All of us as humans have areas that we need to check in on, right? And awareness is such a huge thing that, it's crazy because I've done so much work too that it's interesting now. Like I find myself sometimes when I have dialogues with people, I'll be thinking like in there, I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Or I
Right.
shouldn't, you know what I mean? Like I'll be thinking, I'll replay, and I'm not replaying it because I'm beating myself up. It's not that. It's more that why did I say that to someone? Was I doing that to feel better about myself, or was I trying to make the other person feel better? So sometimes I have to, it's a really good and bad thing. It's why I tell people awareness is such a great thing because it makes you aware, but it's also a bad thing because you're aware. You know what I mean? And so
Yep.
as an evolving human, but the beautiful thing is if everybody worked on that same mindset of awareness and evolving, think about how much better the world would be, really would be. You know what I mean? So good for you.
Right.
All right. Do you have a favorite book that you like? Any favorite books that are just like killer reads for anybody that they need to know about from you?
Well, when it comes to books, I'm actually, I got to get back to work to reading Moby Dick. I'm really
Ah,
into classic American literature.
okay.
But
Yeah.
if you ask me about my all-time favorite book it is
Yeah.
11/22/63 by Stephen King.
Ah, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I know everybody's got their I haven't asked that book question. You asked that one, and I used to ask it all the time I had, but I thought I'd ask you because sometimes as creators, I mean, we like to read things. I like to read too, but I do a little bit more I have this one on my desk right now I need to finish. Somebody gave me this book and I've yet to finish this book, Atomic Habits.
Hmm.
But I read a lot of like personal development type books. I like to read because I can get through them pretty quickly but I like a good story too, and I think there's a lot of sometimes you can find even personal development books that have fables in them, which are my favorite because I think stories people resonate with stories, and that's probably why you like those because they're stories and there's always messages within those. There's always some kind of hero's journey or some kind of, message in there you can pick up on. So all right, be able. Well, this has been awesome. So, if somebody wants to maybe follow you, they want to learn more about you, maybe they want to follow your music, all of that good stuff. Where would you like us to send them?
You could send them to my Instagram. That is b.ableofficial. My
Okay.
Instagram is b.ableofficial. That's the same on TikTok as well.
Okay. Perfect. We'll make sure to when we get the show notes out. We'll get it all in there for you so they can find you and all that good stuff. So listen, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This has been fun and for sharing your journey and being, vulnerable and authentic because I know these are never easy, especially if you haven't been on a different side, you're on a different platform. And so thank you for all of that. And I also want to wish you continued success. Hang in there, keep doing your thing, keep working at it, and just do it, right? Just do it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It's awesome. So very cool. All right. And of course, to our audience, we appreciate you. We love you. We hope you found this episode both inspiring and informative. And if you did, you know what to do. All the things, hit the like, subscribe, comment, share, so we can keep sharing all of these stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.